Alright, today I'm going to be showing off my Garuda Prime build. Garuda Prime just so happens to be currently my favorite Warframe in the game. Just because she's basically like the best one at everything, unless it involves killing specific targets like acolytes or anything with status immunity. But also, I just really like her appearance compared to a lot of frames. I managed to make her look this good without much effort. But anyways, onto the first part of the build. Actually, I'll talk about the shards later. But yeah. I have a lot of different builds for her, though this one I think this one was just me testing. Alright, so yeah, the first build is the one I actually made this one pretty recently. I mean, it's the same, gonna be doing the same thing with all of the Nuke builds, but basically the only thing you want on Garuda is just the max range, and then ideally you want at least like 140% strength, so the bleed chance on Seeking Talons is 100%, and then any strength after that is just bonus. And then duration, ideally you would have more than 40%, so that way the duration on this wouldn't be only 4 seconds. But I mean, that 4 seconds is more than long enough as long as you know what you're doing. The only other things duration affects is the shield on this, which like, doesn't matter at all, since that's not going to be... This isn't going to be contributing to your survivability at all. And then for Gloom, it does, the low duration does lower the ability efficiency. So this will be sucking down a lot of energy, but that doesn't really matter with Garuda at all, since she has 3, which gives her literally infinite energy. Combined with Gloom, which is why I have Gloom on here, because Gloom is just the better version of her regular Blood Altar in like basically every way. The only thing it's not better at is that Gloom requires you to damage enemies, whereas this one's just a constant heal. But yeah, Gloom is basically just flat out better, so I have it on. Yeah, that not to mention it also slows enemies down by 79% with my current power strength. Yeah, and for the Arcanes basically don't matter. I mean, again, more augmented of just for even more power strength. And then Arcane Blessings are mostly like actually a quality of life thing, since there's basically no other Arcanes that do anything meaningful for her at all. She doesn't need Arcane Grace because she relies on being entirely invulnerable from damage on surviving. Arcane Energized is useless because she has infinite energy. Arcane Aegis is pretty much useless because she only has like 300 shield, so a single bullet from like any level 100 plus enemy is going to break a shield instantly, so this is pretty much never going to get activated anyways. And then obviously more armor, this will like technically increase the survivability by an okay amount, but not a meaningful amount. And I mean, depending on if you want your weapons, obviously you might want to put like pistol or some shit on. But yeah, other than that, I just like this for the extra like 1200 HP it gives, because I still honestly don't know, but it seems like her having more HP does give her more energy. But yeah, but basically the only time you're ever going to be dying as Garuda is if something does direct damage to your health through your shields, and it manages to kill you before you can just press 4 and become immune, then use 3 to clear the status effect. Which is another very nice thing that this does, is it removes status effects once the animation finishes. But beyond that, on to the actual mods, and the Exodus is of course this cunning drift to get maximum range. The brief respite is part of how she stays alive, because you're gonna be spamming like her abilities, like you're gonna be spamming like 2 abilities every like 3 seconds as long as you're killing stuff, so you're gonna permanently have max shields pretty much. and thanks to first plate. And of course this mod again technically isn't required, but without the efficiency you're going to be casting this for 155 every single time, and then same with this is going to be like 55. You're going to have to be using bloodletting like almost 4 times as often without this, so blending talons is technically not required, but this build is significantly worse and more tedious without it. The one downside to the blending talons is that the AoE it gives to this is pretty shit, because normally the regular version of this will go up to 60 meters in whatever in the cone that she's looking in, but it only goes up to 25.2 with this with max range, but that's still more than enough since the range from the explosion on this is 28 meters, so it's basically perfect. Of course, I got range, then ability strength, then more range, and then now this mod technically you don't even technically need an umbral former here. I just put it on since I really like her, and I didn't feel like spending like 3 extra former on all these slots. But yeah, you could easily get this exact same build without an umbral former. You just have to spend more former on the other stuff. Of course, more range and the extra energy is mandatory. You could technically make this work without it, but good luck managing to make this work with only 320 energy. You're gonna have to cast bloodletting every time you use a single ability, like more than once. Oh yeah, and on Augur Reach, I just have a V polarity there instead because of one of my other builds. But yeah, I guess yeah. And then this one, the comfy version of this, as I call it, it's basically the same one, just with significantly less power strength and basically the same efficiency, but much more duration. So that way, Gloom isn't just sucking down your energy the entire time. And it also the main change is that it has, yeah, instead of Umbral Intensify, I have Fast Deflection, which gives you a significantly better shield gating, but again, that's from ever since I made this build and started using it, I've come to realize that the shield, this isn't like actually like, you basically don't need it for the survivability at all, because the invulnerability that all of her abilities give her, well, except for Gloom, because that's not her ability. Yeah, plus Brief Respite makes her functionally unkillable in all circumstances. And then this one was just me testing to see how high I could get my duration without compromising other stats. And then this is the... Let me move these. I guess I forgot to finish this one, but yeah, and then this is the classic Breach Surge infinite scaling one, because Breach Surge multiplies all damage enemies take by 2.368, and then Seeking Talons makes it so every time an enemy takes damage, 100 all of that damage is converted into slash damage as well. And then when they take slash damage, that slash damage is then multiplied by 3.68x, and then that little beam thing that comes out of the enemy then hits another enemy for that 3x damage, and then it does 3 times more slash damage, and that 3-1 does, you know, more slash, and it does more damage, and it just keeps going until eventually everything dies. Although this used to be significantly better until the DE nerfed the scaling of this significantly, unfortunately, but I mean, it could still do funny things. But this is basically a meme build. This build is pretty impractical in any actual gameplay because of how long it takes for it to actually do anything. And the going power, like, yeah, because, oh yeah, I did forget to mention, Brief Respite technically isn't even required on this, since the 40% extra shield you get from Augur Reach alone is enough to give you enough shield gating to make you unkillable, as long as you press 4 every single time your shield breaks. It's usually I forget how long it is, but I think the invulnerability is like 1 or 1.5 seconds. every single time you press 4 or 1. And I can't remember if a 3 actually has that as well. I don't think it does. But yeah, so you don't even technically need Brief Frostbite, you could just put Growing Power for even more power strength on her. But the problem with Growing Power on her is that she like basically like literally never uses any like weapons at all, so you're basically never going to get the effect or the increased power strength from this, because you're never going to be shooting your guns, you're just going to be using her abilities to kill literally everything. But yeah, and in this one I have, so this is one, it's the exact same as this one, it just doesn't have Gloom over her too. I was going to use this one to show that this build still works just fine without Gloom, it's just a lot more tedious. I think that's everything. Yeah, now I'll go over the, yeah. And since Garuda's like my favorite Warframe in the game, I've dumped pretty much all my shards and stuff, all my good shards into her, so there's just 3 more ability strength ones. Which, it is worth noting that, actually now I remember that, this build specifically, you can't actually, because I have a 100% bleed chance on this right now, but I'm also getting 45% extra power strength from those 3 red shards, so without those this wouldn't actually be those, so you would have to drop faster if you don't have 3, well, you don't need 3 towels to get to this point necessarily, but yeah, if you don't have 3 red power strength Archon shards on her, you will need to drop one of these mods, but mostly I would say fast deflection, because it isn't actually necessary for her survivability, and throw a power strength mod on. You might actually need well, no, you already have transient too. You might actually need because yeah, I don't think 30% would get you there actually. Can't remember. But well, you could also put Precision Intensifier on, and that would give you more than enough power strength on this. The other abilities would suffer, but you wouldn't really impact your ability to kill literally any enemy in the entire game without issue. And then these 2 are both casting speed ones, because that's by far the biggest thing holding her survivability in back is casting speed, but with both of these, she basically casts everything almost instantaneously. And for her focus score, it literally does not matter because she has infinite energy, so Xenorex used this. She didn't use melee, so no one used this. She does benefit from extra power strength from Madurai, but it doesn't really help her like at all, so that's basically useless. So I just went with, started going with Vazarin, which I basically haven't used at all, as you can see, until recently, exclusively for Guardian Break, because you just press 1, or yeah, you press 1, you get the shield heal, and once the shield breaks, currently you get an extra 130% shield regeneration rate, so it recharges astronomically faster. It also reduces the delay by 60%, which will make it so it's basically impossible to die for the 10-second duration of this, because by the time your shield breaks, or by the time your shield gating wears off, your shield will have already fully regenerated. And then once your shield gate wears off, and your shield will break again, and then you have another full second and a half of shield gating, and by the time that shield gate wears off, your shield will be back to full again. So with this, and this is only at the 1 level for max, the 2nd level makes this significantly better, even. But yeah, with that, if you're ever somehow uncertain of your survivability, Divasion will basically guarantee you never die. As long as you just press 1 whenever you feel like you're gonna need it. Then Unaru is also an actually pretty decent option, because I mean, it gives you Last Gasp and Vengeance if you don't already have these unbound, and even if you do, the biggest reason is for Caustic Strike to full strip enemy armor, and even remove the enemy shield as well, if that's meaningful. Oh yeah, plus the poise from it, so you don't get knocked down or staggered ever, as long as you press 5 every 40 seconds. That's also very nice. And then the extra 200 armor is basically meaningless, though on your operator it does have some impact. And for weapons, again, it literally doesn't matter. Although you will want a weapon with pretty high, like with pretty high raw damage, like the Latum. For example, if you're ever going up against, or if you're in the Steel Path and you encounter an Acolyte or something, you will want this because her one, which is what she uses to kill everything, it does damage Acolytes, but like barely, because all 100% of the damage from this is status damage. And Acolytes are basically immune to any DOT status damage, which is where all of her damage comes from. So she unfortunately can't reliably kill Acolytes in a meaningful amount of time with her abilities. So you just take the Latum or some other really high raw damage weapon that's good at killing Acolytes in seconds. And then that's all. Yeah, and then she does also have her own unique melee weapon that she gets when you don't have any other melee weapons equipped. Although I haven't bothered formatting them more than once because unfortunately the claws, so they aren't good. Even though they can get 112% crit chance with technically I think the actual crit multiplier is 3.8x with the Sacrificial Steel on here, but since I have Tenacious Bond on my Sentinel, it's obviously 5x. But yeah, and then now for the Sentinel build also doesn't matter. I mean, of course, Tenacious Bond, you always want this on literally every Sentinel ever. Pretty much, if not even for the fact that just getting headshot kills makes your Sentinel respawn much faster. Then Guardian here is healed just for another massive amount of survivability because it just resets your shield gate. And then I have this on heal use, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what Sentinel you have this build on. You have Vacuum and Instinct, obviously. Then I also have Sacrifice on here too, just for yet another level of survivability. And then Momentous Bond is just so if I ever kill one, so I only have to kill 2 Eximus enemies and then my Sentinel will have instantly respawned if it happens to die. Then Aerial Bond is the one unique one, it's so airborne kills decrease its recovery by 3 seconds and another 9 seconds if you get a headshot, but that's not going to be happening with her abilities. And then the Cold Field is kind of nice, but that's not why we have this ability. Or not why we have that mod. And then obviously I have the Volklock for the crit chance, so I can activate Tenacious Bond. That I also do happen to have a Riven mod I got a very long time ago for it. But now I can actually demonstrate the builds. First off, I'll actually start with the comfy version, since this is the... just to show you that power strength really doesn't matter at all, as long as it's enough to get this to 100% bleed chance. Yeah, and I'll also demonstrate why the Aerial Bond mod on the Sentinel is, well, why it's a good mod. First off, I'm going to want to activate Gloom, and then just press 3 twice, and now I suddenly have 810 energy. And then now, I'll just press 4, press 1, this for a bit, and then, everything dies once you start the clock again. And then, that's basically all you do. Oh yeah, and now that everything's died, I now have from her passive ability, which I did forget to mention. It doesn't show up here, but yeah, in the bottom right, there's a plus 100% damage. Every time you kill an enemy, you get plus damage. And this is a final damage multiplier as well. So it flat out doubles all damage that you do to enemies, including from this. So now if you were paying like a lot of attention, you would have noticed that they died actually like rather noticeably faster than they did the last time, exclusively just because of that extra damage. I guess I'll kind of explain what's actually going on here. Yeah, so whenever an enemy is affected by her 4, they all get anything that does any damage to them will now do slash damage. Yeah, as you can see, every time I shield break, I press 4, then I'm fine. And I press out to get energy back, and I do this, and I do damage, and I have my energy back. I just do this, and I literally just can't die, period. Yeah, and then when you jump on an enemy, you get this health thing up here with the damage there, because whenever you, also when an enemy shoots it, it also stacks its damage up. But yeah, whenever you jump on an enemy, it siphons a percentage of the health into this, and then you just hold down 1, then shoot it. You don't have to be in the air like that, although that is why I have the aerial bond on the Sentinel, so that way because you're gonna be in the air for a very large amount of time. In fact, you can technically, as long as there's enemies to gather health from, you can effectively stay in the air forever just by pressing her 3 and 4. And yeah, you can also, if you hold down 4, you can still use the regular version of this. Alright. And one more thing I can show off. If you hold down your 1, it will drain your energy at a constant rate, but like every second it will like double the amount of damage it does. As you can see, everything just died instantly. So usually what you want to do is you want to jump on an enemy, then once you want to shoot your one of the enemies, you usually want to hold it down for like about a second to like effectively double its damage, and then it'll kill everything significantly faster. As you can actually see here. What is it? Yeah, charge damage per second, which is unaffected by ability strength. But yeah, so every second the amount of damage it will do doubles from. I'm pretty sure it's from its base damage. But yeah, that's that build, and now on to the Super Nuke build, as I so creatively named it. The biggest difference by far with this one, with the extra ability strength, well, I guess two of them are, is that Gloom slows down enemies significantly more now. But the actual biggest one is that this Dread Mirror now takes 4.5x damage from enemies whenever you press 1 on them, rather than 2.8x. Which is actually a very significant amount of damage, extra damage. And yeah, so the 1 and 2 are the only ones that are like actually affected by the extra power strength. The 4 does technically do more slash damage over time, but we don't really care about that. One downside to this build is that there's a 4-second duration, so whenever you press a 4, you pretty much have to use your 1 immediately afterwards. Otherwise, the special effect where they get affected by slash damage is gonna wear off. Alright. I got my bloodletting maxed out. Yeah, as you see, when I jump on an enemy now, I get 118,000. I don't actually remember how much I was getting before, but yeah, because now it kills them in 2 slash procs with like 0 charging whatsoever. I need to switch this one real quick because I want to actually. I only get like 74,000 damage from that, so I was taking an extra like 40,000 damage on these enemies level. On these level enemies. And it's also worth noting that by far the greatest part about this build is that it infinitely scales, because as the enemy's health goes up, so does the amount of damage you siphon from them, that also goes up. And then as they continue to get higher levels, you continue to siphon more damage from them, and you continue to do more damage. Now there is one thing I do want to display, which is fun. It's that on enemies that have a very, very high amount of health, but no armor at all, like a lot of the armor, specifically the anonymizers or anatomizers, how the fuck you say them? Because they don't have any armor, or they might have some DR, I don't know about that, but they just have a massive amount of health. I guess also show how one thing you do have to be wary of when is if there are any Eximus enemies. Right, but yeah, on enemies with a massive amount of health, I guess they are technically enemy factions, so I'll pause the AI so shit stops happening. Let's see, this one here, see, I get 115k damage from that. But if I go onto an Atomizer, I get 978,000. If I press 4 and I launch this at these enemies, everything still dies, but all the affected enemies died significantly faster. And then, the one downside to the this build is you cannot press 1 on Eximus enemies. You have to break the overshield first in order to press 1 on them. But after you do that, the nice thing is that they have like twice as much health as regular enemies, so you get even more damage in your health up here. Oh yeah, also if you ever want to do a very hilarious amount of damage to enemies, you can just find like a specific enemy that you know has a lot of health, like these for example, and just spam 1 on them. So now I have 10 million damage built up there. And then you can just do this and hold 1 and just do this until your energy is drained entirely. Oh yeah, one thing that's worth noting. Yep, actually that did 2.1 billion damage there, I saw. Yeah, once your energy reaches 0, it will automatically throw it. But yeah, that was about like 250 million charged up on there, and then that was then doubled by this, so that was like 500 million damage it was doing, even though that was all impact damage. It doesn't matter how much armor an enemy has when they're taking 500 million impact damage. So you don't even necessarily need to press 4 to kill enemies. Although in most cases you will, because... so if I jump on this enemy, so that's 1 million damage. Although, okay, I don't actually know why they died that time. They shouldn't have got any slash pox on them. Cool. I need to check something. I might have actually pressed 4, refighting it. Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, see, that was 1 million impact damage, but they're not even missing like 10% of the health. But all the anatomizers are dead because they don't have any armor, so they just kind of fucking die. But on the bright side, one thing that's nice about this is even though you can't jump on Eximus enemies when they have the overshield up, the overshields don't have any. Overshields don't have armor, so you can just break the overshields exclusively through the impact damage of the heart. So when you can just jump on them and then just siphon their life and kill everything. That's everything I can think of for this build. Now on to the... Yes, technically not the final one, but the one majorly different one. It's the... Alright, breach swords. I want these breach swords first since it has more duration. And the best way to get the started is just by shooting the fuck out of an enemy and getting its damage built up. And then let me just recast these, and then as you can see, everything just kind of starts dying. If you're paying very close attention, you can see that the damage numbers are continuing to just get higher and higher and higher. It does not work very well if there's only one enemy left, since it obviously can't take any damage from the beams. But yeah, that's pretty much how that build works. But it's still significantly slower than just simply pressing forward and pressing 1 twice and then killing everything. Oh, this is the wrong build again. There. And then this is how the build works for... This is how it works without Gloom. I guess another downside to not having Gloom is that you can't heal off of Eximus enemies if they happen to somehow only be Eximus enemies. Oh yeah, also yeah, the big downside to this again is that this has a very limited duration. Yeah, as you can see, you're getting your health budged up very quickly. One advantage though is that this does heal your allies. But you don't need you don't necessarily need Gloom for the infinite healing. The healing effect does stack as far as I can tell as well. Oh yeah, and higher health enemies do indeed give you more health. Keep pushing 4 and 3. So maybe they do, maybe they don't. Seems like they were giving me more. I think that's because I had 2 of them affected by it. But yeah, it's pretty much the same. You just press 4, press 1, charge it up for like 1 second. That isn't even necessary. And everything will die. Oh, they ran out of stats. Stats box. Oh yeah, also another thing is, if an enemy has 40% or less health left, pressing 1 will instantly kill them and it will take away all of their health. That's why you can get a very large amount more health. But yeah, that's basically it for the Garuda Prime builds. By far my preferred one is the Super Nuke one, which is just max range as always, and then just super high strength, so this does even more hilarious amounts of damage. And that's basically all there is to it. Actually, yeah, I don't think there's any, yeah. This is pretty much as good as you can get Garuda Prime. I mean, there's probably a couple of other different things you could do, like dropping some mods to try and get even more power strength, or if you really wanted, you could drop Cunning Drift for Power Drift, and that gives you an extra 15% power strength, and I mean, at the end of the day, that does only lower the radius of this by like 1.5 meters or something like that. And then that does lower the range of Gloom down by like 3 meters, and then lowers this range down by exactly 1.5. So actually probably lowers this by like 1. So like it's, at the end of the day, it just barely affects, like, you're never gonna notice that loss in range. And the damage increase is also mostly negligible, but that's probably more noticeable than the range loss. And yep, that's everything for Garuda Prime, my current favorite Warframe in the game, because being able to have a Warframe that just scales infinitely with enemies, regardless of like how much armor they have or what level they are. So you can kill them with absolute ease, which I actually demonstrated by I had uploaded a video like a month ago of me taking Garuda Prime up to level 6000 in the Steel Path circuit, and she had no trouble whatsoever killing every single enemy there and surviving, with the exception of the boss enemy that I can't remember the name of. Yeah, I cannot remember what it's called, but it's a big four-legged robot guy. Yeah, because unfortunately, that's one weakness is that her abilities, like this one does affect, well, does affect some bosses, but her one does not. Like it does do direct damage to them, but it's like heavily reduced for whatever reason, and it doesn't seem to apply any slash effects to them. So you do have to have a weapon that's capable of killing those enemies. Which luckily I believe in that video I had the Strun Prime, which was perfectly capable of killing the bosses. But yeah, other than that, that is everything there is to Garuda Prime. At least that everything that I have. I guess I can show off some of her accessories. Pretty much all of her accessories are just the ones that comes with the Garuda Prime bundle. Namely the Sanguinax Ephemera. And then of course I got the Envine Signa, though I could also put this one on, but that one just does not look as good. And of course I'm also a very creative black and white color user, because black and does super white and super black look good on basically everything. And then the Ciandana, I don't have anything on her for that actually. I feel like most Ciandana just ends up covering up the back too much and doesn't look that good. Especially ones like this. Yeah, the Wukong one doesn't look too terrible. I feel like pretty much all of them just stick out too much and just don't look good. And for sigils, I of course have the these ones, although I do also like the Katia ones, but I like these ones a bit more. And of course I have the snake sigil on the front and back. It's basically the only good sigil in the game. So I'll show the... Yeah, this is the color I use for the... Yeah, this is the color I use for this is the energy color I use for pretty much all of my Warframes, because it just looks really goddamn nice. And yep, that's everything. Oh, I can do this though. There we go. Alright, so yep, that's the video.